So yeah, good afternoon. My name is Wilson Mendes. You can call me Will. Just my mom called me Wilson, so it's kind of weird when someone calls me Wilson. So yeah, my name is Will Mendes. I'm Google developer expert of technology and Angular. And today we'll talk about Angular components. How to make things decoupled, shared, reusable, and open source. And now I can breathe. And yeah, this presentation will be based on some of the things I've done in other companies and things I've done in open source projects. For who don't know me, I'm a contributor for projects like Angular, React, Webpack, and not only front-end like all my SH and other languages. So yeah, first of all, I know this afternoon we already had a lunch, but let's start the party. I'm not that good with jokes, but I'll try my best. First of all, yeah, that's me. Do you guys know which street is that one? What's the name of that street? Any shots? Yeah, I know that was here, but any shots really? Great, probably it is because I have no idea. but as you guys can see, I really like pictures. But right now, I will do something different. I want to see that you guys are still alive after a lot of those talks were really great content. So I'm recording right now. I just want to check. Hey Melbourne, make some noise! It will die in the internet soon. And yeah, let's now go back for the things. As I said, I'm an open source contributor, and for fun, I did a book. I published a book called JavaScript and Robotics in the Real World. I was playing around with some Node-bot stuff, so I put all together in the book, and feel free to download because it's totally free. It's for the community. So the steps are like that, and if you can take a picture, take it. If you're not, follow me on Twitter. You have all those links over there. And yeah, let's start now. As we all know, web apps are evolving, and like we need to be up to date. What that means? That means that like since we came with the idea of AngularJS, we had few movements in the web, and few of the things are in this checklist. We should think now about front-end architecture. Like front-end is not something that we don't need to care anymore. Like we always had to care, but we didn't have this idea properly, like clean. And should be something component based. We know the benefits of have components and how to mix them up, how to compose them. And of course, should be web friendly. We are developers. We want to have like a developer experience great as much as possible. Yeah, think about shared components. Shared components is love. What it means, as you can see, you have a mobile website and a desktop website. And we are sharing components in those two pages, in those two devices. That means that like, if you have a page, if you have a website, which, I don't know, you're using header in all those 10 pages that you have, 100 pages that you have, you need to think on how to reuse components. It's not something that came right now. If you think about it, it came from the 80s, where we start to think better ways to share those components in the web, and how to solve the code problems. As I said, think that you're using this in your company, and how can you use it in a better way. There are a lot of design systems that you can use. At the top, for example, you can see atomic design. At the bottom, you can see material design. All of them have the same idea. Solve your problem in a better way. How to reuse components, how to attach components, how to compose components, how to make your user journey better. When we're doing code, we're not doing code for ourselves, we're doing code for someone else. It can be your user, it can be some other developers, for example, but you're doing your code for someone else. You need to think in the experience. Because at the end of the day, this is our web page right now. It's a page, we choose a component and can use another component. So it's always a composition, always a composition. Other things that we start to think during this process, like what about opinions? Because we always have opinions, right? Let's say, how can I bundle my package because my package is totally unique? My problem is totally unique, right? And how to test, how to publish, how to link. You have all this list, probably have more than this, but yeah, we always have opinions. And we start with the idea of zero configuration. Who here already heard about it? Who here use Angular CLI? Great, you all know about zero configuration. Zero config is pretty much a really trendy talk on GitHub, for example. The idea is, do you remember all those opinions? Those decisions are already done. In our case, we can use Angular CLI for all those opinions. Like, what about links? What about bundle? What about how to publish? How to publish a library? You can use Angular CLI for those. If you want to check, this is the topic, so feel free to take a look and have fun. And talk about exactly about Angular. We have Angular CLI that's really helpful for us. So it has all the decisions. Like Cyril spoke a little bit about it, but that's it. Feel free to go there, play around. If you never play around, feel free to do it. And that's exactly how it should be. npm install Angular CLI. After that, you can start a new application using engineer my app. And after that, energy server. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy, right? But that's the first step about zero configuration. Let's start to think more about components. You already have a page which has a lot of components, and how can you keep those things simple? Because you don't want to change something or component to break all your website. You don't have this problem because it's really a fight to be continued. When you think about code, you don't want anyone to have this experience. The best part of GIFs is like, they're great. And yeah, talk about packages. We also talk about packages, but it's something really broader, right? You can use a Node package to integrate in your Angular application. You can use an Angular module to integrate in your Angular application. But why they need to be small? Hey, we will talk too much about that. So if that makes sense, let's think about it. First, how easy it is if you have something really small and you have the boundaries really ready to integrate in your teams. Let's say if you have something like you're using material design, for example, you want to use a model, you can export only that part, and use it. Should be something that easy to maintain. Our code, it doesn't matter if you're doing like a big chunk of code or a small piece of code, should be easy to maintain, should have like follow some principles, like some solid principles, or should be readable at least. And if you think about it, since it's small, it's easy to improve, it's easy to remove, it's easy to refactor across teams. Those are principles that we have right now at mind every time that we talk about microservice, but we can use it even smaller scopes. Another thing, NG Japan updates. Do you know who is this person here who had the arrows? His name is Miles. He's from Angular Material team. And I met him on NG Japan last year. And I want to share like some updates about those things. First of all, this one. At that time, I was talking about best practice to share modules and Angular applications. I was talking, okay, think about it. The language that we use in Angular is JavaScript, right? At the end will be JavaScript. And if you want to do something that can be reusable, do it in JavaScript. And you can reuse everywhere. Why? If you think about open source or even some migrations, for example, one really problem that we had was like when we tried to migrate from AngularJS to Angular. A lot of applications had a lot of hard time. For example, here, who worked in this migration? Who think that was easy? That's great. I need to take a picture of this. There is no hands. I can hear some laughter. What? Actually, it's a good tactic. But yeah, Why? Few things were too tight, and when you do the migration, you start to think, hey, we need to improve the experience. So one of the architectural patterns that came with this idea was, you can use NG upgrade, NG4 to do this, but why not do this migration piece by piece? What that means, you split your page, every page is a brand new application, and you can ship a brand new page piece by piece, validate, use metrics to follow that. So they need to do like a big bang or try to do something that we punish the user, like put NG upgrade and work with AngularJS and Angular at the same time. Think about it. If you put it, your user will be downloading both things. This is one approach called macro frontend. And here I'm talking about being decoupled. What that means, if you have something that you can use in a package, use in a package, create a package, a node package, and you can import in your components. What's the benefit? If you have to do any migration, we have boundaries. Apart from like syntax sugar that you need to migrate, all the logic is there, you can reuse anywhere. This is the Twitter for Angular Material CDK that was published with all these concepts, and that was great. Really, really great. Because the first time that I was talking, people look at me like, hey, are you crazy? I need to create my code like twice? Not really. If you had to rework in that code, you had to work twice. Now what you have to do is change small pieces of code and that's it. And at the end, talking about web, everything's a component. And it means like, even if you don't like it, even if you don't want to do it, everything is as small scope. You always have a boundaries because your component, like your homepage component, shouldn't know about the payment page, right? You don't need to be like that tight. And talking about it, don't have to. And everything should be plug in and play. And when I talk plug and play, I talk about this. That's what I'm talking about. Give some great. But yeah, let's give a simple example, a small piece of code so we can move away from the abstract side and go to the real side. This example is a feature toggle. What that means, if you have an application, you have a feature that's not finished 100%, you can turn off, keep your work, and when it's all done, you can turn on. If something happens in the middle, you can turn off, right? Let's say you have in your payments page, things that are working on e-commerce, you have to do an integration for a new credit card. If it's not 100% done, turn off. And when it's all good, you can turn on and check. Have metrics for this to do this automatically, so they need to turn on and turn off if you don't like it. We already saw like few presentations talking about how metrics can be useful for us. But yeah. And about it, I created a component package called feature toggle service. It's really simple. You put some information, say enable, this feature is enabled, this feature is not, and your component use it. So as an example, to show how things can be decoupled, I create this component called reactor feature toggle, and this one called ngNext feature toggle. Both are doing the same thing. That means that like, if I want to create a component with the same idea in Vue.js or Ember.js, I already have the core because at the end, all of them are using feature toggle service. Oh, everyone's with me? So yeah, how to use it? Simple. Import your module, add it in your application, and start using. How can you use? Component declaration. You have, for example, a feature toggle provided that you can pass all the features. This feature toggle data, for example, is a JSON with all information. Enable payment by credit card X. Enable payment by credit card UI. One of them can be true, another them can be false. You can change it. It's really up to us. And you can add a block called feature toggle with the name, and you can put, for example, show when disable in case 8. If this is disabled, should show a message to the user, and that's it. As an example. Another thing, in open source or not open source, I think that case really doesn't matter. We really need documentation for that. And a really good way to have docs is have a demo page. Because let's be honest from ourselves, right? How many times do you have to spend some time to look at the source code of some components because there was no proper documentation? I can see some faces. I feel your pain, I know. And when I talk about demo page, for example, I talk about this. Everyone can see this code. Let me increase a little bit the page. Right? So that's a code, a small example on StackBlitz. So everyone can play around and see how the thing works. So I put a timeout to simulate, for example, a WebSocket that you can check all your feature toggles, or even a reactive application that you can use, for example, React.js to check all the time the feature or anything that you want. If we put like 2 seconds, the page will be like crazy. But if I put 20 seconds, you'll be like, okay. I change the value to false. After some time, it will change, and you can check how the component behaves. So as you can see, this is the core of the component, because at the end, your HTML will be this. A provider with all information, those enable and disable pieces, and the feature name with the name. So you can validate that. So it's a really small piece of code, but you can understand how to make things decoupled can be better for you. Yeah, let's go back to the presentation. Oh, another thing. We have Angular CLI, which came with a lot of libraries, but when you talk about a small piece of code, sometimes you might not need some libraries. For example, sometimes you might not need Lodash, because it's really useful for us to use Lodash / keys, Lodash / values, but we already have the support from JavaScript. You can use object.keys, object.values, and that's it. So you don't need to increase your bundle to have the same behavior. These are things that you need to keep in mind, because when you increase your bundle, that means the user will take some time to download it, and if page load, for example, is something I really need to care about, those are things. And other point, we need to think always as composition over inheritance, for example. Even a component, because we talk a lot of this in OOP, right? Composition over inheritance, but we forgot sometimes about the components. And one small example is like this. If you want to do something in Angular, one of the approaches that you can use is use your module and call for root, and you can pass information that you want as like a default information. But talk about component composition. You can do this. You have a component as a wrapper, and you can pass that information, and it will be simple. Like React devs can take a look, Angular devs can understand, and if you have to change something, you don't need to pass a service here, for example. You can use in any page, anywhere. So it's a best practice to use for root, but we always need to think that sometimes we have corner cases. At the end, just a reminder, a page is a composition of components, right? So conceptually, it makes more sense than this in that case, because you need to update the data. Another thing, we also want to have the best code ever, the most performant one, the most beneficial one, but there's a really, really small concept called first do it. After that, do it right, and do it better. That means you always need to think in how to improve your application. As an example, in that code, that component, I was using AMD do check, which was taking 4.3 milliseconds. which is okay. We think about it like a small number, but in your page that can have like 10 feature toggles, you can have like impact. So let's think about it. Let's think about different approaches. And in this approach, I was using ng-zone to change the scope so you can use a different way outside the component, outside Angular to run that. And it was taking 403 milliseconds. So we have improvement for 7 to 3. And that means that your page that was using 10 components has like 30 milliseconds less. And if you think about it, you have to increase that. If you can increase that, you still have benefits. And the build, the bundle was really small. This other point, toolings. One of the tools like to automate your components, because talking about open source, there are a lot of tools that can avoid you to do the same work all the time. One of the tools is like if you bump a component, you need to update all your packages, all the projects they're using. You can use Decoupled to do this, so they need to do repetitive job all the time. This is really a good one and easy to integrate to GitHub. For example, you can use in open source projects or internal projects. Other one is called Climate, so you can check how complex your application, how complex your code, how easy it is to maintain or to evolve it, and have all the metrics over there, and you can work on that. Okay, now we know how to use toolings to help ourselves, how to think about these smaller components, but what about how to publish? Because that can give you some really, really hard time. One thing that you don't want to have is this experience. You're there, you need to publish, you don't know why, but you need to publish, you need to publish. How can I publish? It's broken, I need to publish, I need to fix the publish, and yeah, you don't want to be crazy like that. Before the publish, you need to think like different ways to bundle. You have all those types. ESM 2015, F ESM 2015, UMD, ESM5, F ESM5. Now we have modules that you can use in your application. And I need to know all those things. Or even something different because you have a specific approach, right? Your application is unique, so you can use scripts for that. This is an example of a real application, a real component that's there. So it's using shell script to do the publish. As you can see, it's running the test. After that's run the build, run the bundle size to check how big it is. Using something to build and publishing. After that, create a version and create a tag. Another example. It's one example that you can find in Material Design 2, Angular Material, that's using Go, so you can use some build system to do your job right, because your application has a specific way to publish things. So that's no standard. If you think about how to publish a small library, there's no standard, right? And now we came to the idea with ng packager. So here I'm already using this guy. ng packager is a simple way to solve a bundle and to publish, thinking in all those scenarios. ng package already covers all those different types, so you can use really simple like this: ng package -p and ng-package.ts, which is your configuration. So you can say, hey, I want you to check this entry point, bundle this library, and push it. And for who never had to use this, Angular CLI already integrated. So even if you don't want to use, even if you never heard about it, you are using if you want to use this approach. Angular CLI now released a different way to ship a library, which is great. So you don't need to cover all the scenarios, you don't need shell scripts, you don't need all these things. It's really simple. ng generate your library. After that, you can build your library, go to the folder, and do publish. If you think about it, the way to publish is like 3 comments, right? How can you run tests? How can you update your change log? How can you do all those things that are required what if I told you that you can do this and cover all the steps that you can have? Run the test to check that your code is okay, run the bundle size, update the change log, and any specific thing that you can have your application. I applied a pull request on a library called NP from Cinder Source, and now you can pass the folder, because here in NP publish, the default command you can pass a folder. For example, if your folder is dist, you can pass npm publish dist. Now with MVP, you can pass -- contents in your folder. It will run all the things. So you need to follow few steps, like it triggers a test, and in npm script, it triggers npm version, and it triggers npm publish. If you have a scripts, npm scripts, you can put all the commands over there, you can reuse anywhere. And that was when it was merged and it was published. I published a new version of this component, and it was really easy. Why? Because all the scripts that I had, all the specific way that I had to publish, can be simplified for that. Think now that you're in a company and you have a specific way to publish, you don't need anymore. You need to follow a few steps, add them in your scripts, in your package JSON, and that's it. So all the abstractions, all the different ways, you don't need to create scripts for that, and that's it. That's mind-blowing. You really can simplify things with open source packages. So as a recap, first think about architecture. Even in a small component, you need to think that this component will be used in all the pages. Zero configuration, always. So in our case, you can use Angular CLI for that. So Angular CLI for rescue and your life would be great. Choose carefully. Sometimes you need to integrate a library, a package, a module, but to take a look in the definition, sometimes you don't need that. As example, I gave you from Dash, and try to automate everything. The way that you need to publish, the way that you can check the code, the way that you can do code stuff like, I need to use ESLint, I need to use Prettier, or TS-lint, automate everything. Everything that you think that it's an opinion can be automated, and your life will be easier. Because all the time that I have to spend in those decisions, you don't need anymore. If you want to know more about micro frontend and how to use that in the real life, this is a repository of a presentation that I gave at Conf Asia 2018 with some examples with Angular, React, Vue.js, and other frameworks. So you can take a look, play around, and see how that works in the real life. And for who wants to take a look at the code, those are the packages: Angular modules, React components, and feature toggle cells as node module. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoy as much as I enjoy it. Thank you.